Hello, every person. My name, Jose Jimenez. I was in a nightclub in San Francisco, working. And if you play the record, the first thing you are going to hear is me saying thank you to the nice person with the very funny name who introduced me. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness, what a nice crowd. My name, Jose Jimenez, and I'm very happy to be any place. This is my first time in the nightclub. Well, it's not my first time in the nightclub, but it's the first time I didn't have to pay the minimum. What I do is give the person at the door $3 and he lets me come in to do the show. They have a very nice policy here at the Jungry Eye. You do not pay the minimum at the table. You pay the maximum at the door. Which is very considerable. When my friends found out that I was going to open in the nightclub, they said to me, George, well, I don't have very close friends. They said, if you are going to open in a nightclub, you better get yourself a comedy routine. And I said, a comedy routine? That's funny. And they said, it better be. Because sometimes in the nightclub, those people could really get rough. And I said, well, I'll meet that problem when I get to it. Welcome to my problem. So I decided not to do a comedy routine because you would probably just laugh at me. So instead of that, I would like to sing a song for you that I had the pleasure of making famous under the name of Gildegard. Darling, je vous aime beaucoup. Je ne sais pas what I'm going to do. That's the way I feel right in my heart. Morning, noon, and night time too. You're wondering what I'm going to do. That's the way I felt right from the start. Oh, Jerry, my love for you is très fort. Which my friends were good enough. I tell you so much more. I really tell you. So I hope that you can breathe all the things that you mean to me. Darling, je vous aime. I love you. Oh, my darling, I really je vous aime beaucoup. Remember when we met, my darling? I was on vacation in your native France. You were a lovely little French girl, and I was a typical British tourist. We had a language barrier. You spoke French, but very little English. And I spoke English, but very little English. Remember how we met, my darling? We bumped into each other on the Rue de la Paix. I was walking on the Rue de la Paix, and you were driving on me. But it was my fault, my darling. I was haywalking. Remember later at the hospital? You forgave me for putting that dent in your fender. And then, my darling, we went to the south of France together, to Marseilles, and to Nice, and to Cannes. And it was there, my darling, that we had our fist fight. Our first fight. Our first fist fight. And it was also there, my darling, that I told you a little teeny white lie to make an impression on you. I told you a lie about my job. And now, my darling, I want to make a confession. Darling, I am not the Prime Minister of England anymore. So I hope that you can bring all the things that you mean to me. Darling, je vous aime beaucoup. I love you. Yes, I do.
A new policy here at the Hungry Eye is to bring you people who are in the news currently, and the gentleman you're about to meet could possibly be the most important man in any of our lives. He's the United States Air Force officer who has been chosen to be the first man sent into outer space. I'm referring to the chief astronaut with the United States Interplanetary Expeditionary Force, and here he is now. How do you do, sir? May we have your name?
My name, Jose Jimenez.
And you're the chief astronaut with the United States Interplanetary Expeditionary Force?
I am the chief astronaut with the United States in the planetary. But my name, Jose Jimenez.
Mr. Jimenez, could you tell us a little about your spacesuit?
Yeah. It's very uncomfortable.
How much did the spacesuit cost?
That spacesuit cost $18,000.
$18,000?
Yeah.
That seems rather expensive.
Well, it has 2 pair of pants. So that's only $9,000.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I've been noticing this, Mr. Jimenez. What is this called? A crash helmet?
Oh, I hope not.
What are the physical qualities that they look for in an astronaut?
The physical quality they look for in the astronaut. You got to have the perfect hearing. You got to have the perfect vision. You got to have the normal blood pressure. You got to have 4 legs.
You have to have 4 legs?
Yeah, they were going to send a dog, but they thought that would be too cruel.
Mr. Jimenez, you must have some opinions on the race for space.
All right, I will. I got one.
Good. What do you think of Vanguard 1 and Jupiter 2?
That was a pretty close game. I thought for sure the vanguard was going to take it.
The West Coast, yes.
What you were reading the papers about.
I know. Now tell me, Jose.
I'll tell you, Jose.
Tell me.
Yes, I'll tell you. You just ask me and I tell you.
All right. Were you a participant at any of the rocket launchings at Cape Canaveral?
I was a participant at any of the rocket launches at Cape Canaveral. I was there when they opened the door into the nose cone. They took them out, and they put them out inside the nose cone. Then they closed the door on that little mouth. I don't want to talk about it.
Please, Mr. Mendes, please, let's try to continue here. I want to ask you, what is the most important thing in rocket travel?
To me, the most important thing in the rocket travel is the blast off.
The blast off.
I always take a blast before I take off. Otherwise, I wouldn't get in that thing.
Well, after that, what is the procedure in taking off?
The procedure after that in taking off, you got to put on the step-up hydraulic double dynamo reversible booster. You got to activate the decompression activator. And you got to put on the anti-magnetic degaussing system.
And then you're really up there.
No, that opens the door. And lets out that little mouth.
Let's talk about the rockets themselves.
Well, I had trouble once with one of the rockets.
At Cape Canaveral?
No, at the Radio City Music Hall. There's something about separate maintenance.
Yes.
I don't know.
Let's change the subject.
Okay, if you know how.
Let's talk about the actual rocket trip.
Okay.
By the way, do you know it's costing the government $7 billion to send you on this trip into outer space?
That's not my fault. I told them I was willing to go tourist. And they said it's such a long trip. Go first class, and that's what adds up.
Okay. Do you think
Overweight baggage,
do you think there will be life on Mars?
Maybe if I land on a Saturday night. Something might be happening. Otherwise, I'm going to bring a book.
That's something I wanted to ask you about, Mr. Jimenez. Of course, it's a very long trip into outer space.
Yes, it's a long trip.
And I just wonder what you'll do to entertain yourself during those long, lonely, solitary hours when you're all by yourself.
Well, I plan to cry a lot.
I would imagine that food is a major problem on a trip into outer space.
I would imagine that food is a major problem on a trip into outer space. And it is, you know. They only allowed you to have the 10 ounces of food.
Only 10 ounces of food?
That's right.
Well, how will you manage?
I'll eat out.
After you've been into outer space, Mr. Jimenez, and you return to Earth,
Okay.
where will you be landing?
I am going to be landing in Nevada,
In the state of Nevada.
in the state of Nevada.
Then you're convinced that they'll get you back to Earth.
I am convinced that they will get me back to Earth.
Good.
Just how far into it? That's what I'm not convinced about.
Well, surely they've made some provisions to break your fall.
To break my fall?
Yes.
Sure, Nevada.
Well, Mr. Jimenez, I think you're certainly to be congratulated for this very, very dangerous undertaking.
Oh, don't say undertaking.
Mission, this very dangerous mission.
That's a better choice of words.
And before you go...
Don't even say go.
Before that, I just wonder if there are a few words that you'd like to say to the people of the United States.
Yeah, there were a few words that I
Oh,
would say.
please go ahead.
People of the United People of the United States of America. Please don't let them do this to me. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I had the pleasure to introduce to you somebody who really needs an introduction. So I better give him one. He's really a nice person, so please greet him with a big round of apathy, ladies and gentlemen, that he really deserves. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Dana. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Jose Jimenez. You're a credit to your race. Whatever that is, but sure. Well, certainly it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first time in a nightclub. Well, actually, it's not my first time in a nightclub, but it's the first time I didn't have to pay the minimum. What I did was give the guy at the door $3 and let me come in here. They have a marvelous policy here at the Hungry Eye. Oh, that's his act. Forgive me, it gets very confusing when you do a character. I'm sure you realize that when an actor or a comedian does a character, sometimes it's referred to as the ventriloquist syndrome. That is, he uses this character as a dummy through which to speak because he's afraid to express himself as himself. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not afraid to express myself as myself. So I said, when I come up here, I'll do a little bit of Jose and then get rid of it. I won't do it at all unless, of course, I get in trouble. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you're a good group. A very good group. As a matter of fact, I think this is the time to make the announcement. Yes, it is. I have an announcement to make, ladies and gentlemen, that is not only of earth-shaking importance, but of universal moment. And before I can make it, I must discuss with you one of the reasons why people laugh. One of those reasons is, ladies and gentlemen, that things simply seem strange or unfamiliar to us. We hear something strange, something unfamiliar, we feel compelled to laugh. For example, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are walking down the street, and a third party introduces Mr. and Mrs. Smith to Lawrence and Helen Lipschitz, say. All right, you see, there's suppressed laughter because the name Smith is unfamiliar. Don't laugh. Some people think Lipschitz is a strange handle. If a lovely rose were called a bluch, and Shakespeare had written those immortal words, a bluch by any other name would smell as sweet, there might be some giggling. If you walked into a liquor store and said, give me a bottle of 4 bluchs, will you? The guy would laugh at you, because he'd never picked a bluch, you see. If the verb to love were to grange, and you said, my darling, I grange you now. I've always granged you. I'll grange you till the day I die. She might laugh at you simply because she'd never been granged before. Songs like Grange Me or Leave Me would be held up to ridicule. So now I think we understand that when we hear sounds that are unfamiliar, we feel compulsion to laugh. Okay, if we do understand that, I will make the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Interplanetary Expeditionary Force has made a successful landing on the planet Venus. Unfortunately, the space vehicle landed in a highly populated area. Some Venusians were killed, some Venusians were wounded, others are still missing. The citizens of Venus, ladies and gentlemen, they are not a warlike people. They simply ask that I read the memorial list of the Venusian dead, wounded, and missing. These names will seem strange to you. Please remember our discussion. Refrain from laughing. In the name of everything that's decent. Among the dead, the mayor of Venus, Farn Tippy Scoop Tarleton. You must be fun at a funeral. Wounded, his wife, Colonel That's just the first initial. Sustained injuries, a fractured right upper arm, right middle arm, right lower arm. Left upper arm. Fortunately, her Feeny was uninjured. But she did sustain a badly bent tushy. That's not funny. Try bending yours. Among the missing, the mayor's 3 children, ages 712, 614, and the youngest, a mere 404. Their names,
Kupunarani, Sternfalter, keep Carnal to stay in there. Oh.
oh, come on, these are kids.
Mr. Jimenez, in addition to being the chief astronaut, is also a very, very famous authority on all subjects and is coming out right now to answer any questions that any of you may have to ask on any subject. So please feel free to ask your questions and get his sagacious opinions and advice. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Don Inkley, and your
Welcome.
sagacious opinion.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just have a very few minutes to clear up any problems you might have. On any subject, feel free to give vent to your emotion, whatever that means. Ask any question on any subject, geography, chemistry, trigonometry, speech.
What do they call this place in Hungary?
Has anybody given you any food since you've been here? Now, actually, the hungry eye comes from, that means hungry intellectual. The I is for intellectual. It's for subjective intellectuals. Any other question?
What do you think about polygamy?
Well, I think they're going to come up with a cure. Now, I understand that the government is going to have a crash program against that. Did you just arrive, sir? My name, Jose Jimenez. What is your name? Your name, Jose Jimenez. You didn't know I threw my voice like that.
You figured out how to make a portable atomic bomb?
Was he carrying a briefcase when he came in? A portable atomic bomb? Boy, next thing you're going to be smoking. That's dangerous. Portable atomic bomb. No, I don't want to make it. Make one. Do you know how to make one? I'll see you later. What do I call my necktie? Where do I buy them? I bought this one and it was given to me. Do you like my necktie? You like it very much. You don't love my necktie. That necktie wouldn't go with you anyway. Any other question?
What about the sex life of amoeba?
How long has that bothered you? Maybe I could fix that amoeba up with my necktie. We'd have neck buzz or something. Or tibias or whatever. Any other question? What's a feenie? You don't know what a feenie is? Is it like a tushy? No, how could a feenie be like a tushy? It's like a nern. Or a bent cryle. What's that, young fellow? What did you say, sir? Spell it? Which one? Feenie, tushy, or cryle? Spell psh, psh, psh. You spell it with two pushes. Anybody that's been as far as the third growl knows that. Any other poopies?
Where you're appearing next?
Over there. That's where I take my bow. Right? I hope I do good. Because sometimes that's not my spot, you know.
Jose?
Yes,
Think about San Francisco.
I'm going there. Yes. Well, do I sing seriously? Well, I not, you know, not if they let me sing in the car. In the car. When we go on trips or something. They don't let me drive, but I can sing. Any other question?
What's Steve Allen really like?
Chuck Parr.
How much is 2 and 2?
You from Caltech? No. Once in a while somebody comes in here and asks you with a problem like that. No, I left my slide rule in the dressing room, but I'll figure it out for you. Any other question?
Does Jose Armanis dance?
What do you have in mind? I ain't got a date anyway. Sure, anyway. And you would probably want to lead. Please?
Do you have children?
You're my oldest. Think about that one for a while.
What's your handicap in golf?
That I can't play it. I really look silly out there. It's a terrible handicap. Any other question? Any other question?
What's going to happen to Nixon since he got defeated?
What? They did what to him? Oh my goodness. Is that what happens when you lose? Well, that must be painful. That's worse than having polygamy. Oh, I sure wouldn't like to be defeated, I tell you. Because then we couldn't dance.
Are you a space authority?
Am I a space authority? Yes. Do you need some space? And yeah. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. How?
Successful as our next president.
I think that he is going to be our next president. I think he's going to be very successful. Excuse me. I took some Alka-Seltzer before this. Really, I did.
Did you vote for him?
No, I never saw this man before. If I knew your name, I would have made you a write-in candidate. And no offense, I certainly would about it. So, yes.
Why are drug prices in San Francisco so high?
Why is what?
Drug prices.
Why are the drug prices? Let me see your arm. Well, let's sum up what we learned here. I know I learned I like you very much. And in about 1 second, I'm going to be standing right there, feeling terribly humble in the middle of your ovation. But before I go, I just want to say something seriously.
Thank you so much. You're very kind.